anything specific with the software or any numbers, you can ask them there, as well as just general questions, and we can also have Justin address some of those at the end, so that will be great. Okay, next slide. I'm ready for that. So real quick, I'm just going to introduce some things about Kendis before we get started. We're not just a program board or a PI planning tool. We also do tracking, as you all are probably hoping, since we're doing this webinar today. And we also assist in a lot of different safe ceremonies, and we just have a wide variety of features and capabilities. So if you aren't already familiar with all that, I encourage you to check out our website and maybe schedule a demo to learn more, because today won't be a full demo of Kendis. We'll be mostly talking about tracking. So yes, okay, real quick, I'm gonna put up a poll for all of you to answer. Launch poll, here we go. We just want to know how much experience you all have with Kendis. So if you could just punch that in. Any experience level is welcome, but it's nice to see who we have on the call today. Yeah, people are rolling in answers. Nice. Okay, I'm gonna close it. Here, I can share these results real quick. So we have a good spread, actually. Surprising. I maybe thought we would have a lot more ACE Kendis users, but a majority of people know quite a bit about Kendis, which is great. And for anyone who's new, we will be showing a lot of tracking capabilities and just what Kendis can do for you. So that'll be interesting. And as I said, feel free to go to the website and schedule a demo afterwards to learn more. And for anyone here who is a current customer, thanks for coming. We know there's a big interest in talking about tracking. So we're happy you're here, and we're excited to be adding new workflows and just new ways of thinking about tracking and how you're currently using Kendis, hoping to advance that, build on to that, because we know that these ideas about tracking are not usually outlined in SAFE, so it's not really obvious the best way to be going about that. And really, once your PI planning is over, it kind of becomes difficult because you're not really sure, there's not a clear outline of what you should be doing. So hopefully today we will be helping you with that, which is great. Okay, I will hide these results. If we could have the next slide. Yes, okay. So the last thing I'm going to talk about before we get into Justin's presentation, we have an upcoming clinic. We're starting to do some clinics with Kendis. There'll be monthly discussions on topics picked by the community. Hopefully that is interesting to you all. The first topic, as you can see, will be dependencies. So we will touch on those today for sure. And then we hope that we will have a discussion about it and kind of get more in depth with dependencies, and the community can actually talk. So it won't be just us presenting, which will be great. So that'll be on May 25th. If you want to scan this QR code now, or we will be sending the link in the follow-up email to register for that. So that'll be really exciting. And we basically had success with our previous webinar. We did one a week or two ago with Nordia about remote PI planning. So if you missed that, there is a video available. So there's a webinar page on our website that we will send in the follow-up email. And yeah, Justin can actually show you it right now. Yes, this is our page. So you can check out previous ones, the videos, and upcoming clinics and webinars to register for as well. So we're really excited to be doing those types of things. Okay, so that is the end of my presentation. I'm going to launch another poll real quick just to get started talking about tracking. So thanks for answering the first one. Here's another one. So yeah, if you want to just select what are the most difficult things for you all to track, we really are interested in seeing. And you can select more than one, or the last option is literally all of it. So go ahead and do that. Great, we're getting votes coming in. Thank you all for voting. Thank you all for coming. This is great. Yes. Give it a second. Thank you.
Literally all of it.
Literally all of it. I support that answer. Okay, nice. Thank you all for voting. Okay, I'm gonna close it and share the results. And Justin, do you want to take it away from here, talk about these and start your presentation?
Yeah, fantastic. I'm just looking at the results there. Dependencies, quite a lot. Team progress, always a difficult one, literally all of it. Thank you for that, I know, and thank you for voting as well.
Yes.
So yeah, good afternoon, good morning, depending where you are. Let me share the slides. Can you see my slides all right, Anna?
Yes, all good.
Excellent, thank you very much. So yeah, for those of you that don't know me, as I know mentioned, my name is Justin Oakey. I am in charge of the sales and also the partnership programs that we have here at Kendis. For those of you that have been with Kendis for a while, you know that we have been on a journey with Kendis. It started off as a PI planning tool, and then we kind of went into the facilitation of the PI planning, and now we're doing more and more about the tracking, because it's actually, we know that that's the easy bit, making the plans, but tracking is so difficult. And like you see in the poll, there's a variety of things that we all need to track. Organizations do it differently. I think there's over 150 organizations that are represented on this call, and I bet we'll struggle to find a handful of you that will actually work in the same way. Even in the same organization, sometimes everybody works differently. So we're here to try and solve your problems, but just bear with us on that. It's not complete by any means, but we are focusing more and more of the tracking. That's why we're doing things like those clinics, that we can actually, it would be short, snappier presentations that we're giving to you and helping you with whatever you need in the organization. I will be rambling on. I'm so sorry that it's going to be just my voice for a while. But I want to show you as much as possible in the time frame that we have. Please, if you have any questions, please make sure that you put that in the questions part on the bottom right-hand side, I believe, of your webinar. We've got our ACE support team who are there to answer the questions. So, and I will give some time at the end for questions as well. But please ask away while I'm talking. Okay, so first slide is about the SAFE definition of execution, so how we should execute our PI. Now you'll notice that the middle part of SAFE talks about it's a team sprints ceremonies, so the daily stand-ups, the iteration of reviews, backlog refinement, retros, etc., etc. So that's for the teams. And then what SAFE has said is that we bring that on the program level, and instead of a daily stand-up, we have like an art sync with either the scrums or the POs. We have a systems demo, we have preparation for the next PI, we have inspect and adapt, and we have, of course, the PI planning. So that's what SAFE has suggested. The arrows are just pointing out to things that we help out specifically in Kendis. So on those, I'm not going to go into it too much, because I believe that most organizations with multiple agile teams will know scrums quite well. Whether or not you have it for 15 minutes, you manage to have it that short, or whether or not they're an hour long, I think most organizations will have it. We obviously have got a new feature out in Kendis, which I'll show you more about in the actual tool. We've also got the PO sync. And the PO sync, again, I believe most organizations would have this. Whether or not you just solely discuss objectives, I don't know. I believe mainly people would discuss actually issues that they were facing in the current PI, and having those sorts of discussions about release and everything else. But we can talk about that later. And it doesn't mention it too much, but I want to highlight it here, the pre-PI planning, because this is something that we're going to be looking at improving on later on in the year. The pre-PI planning, because this is the bane of a lot of organizations' lives when you're actually preparing for the upcoming PI, where your product owners are working on what is current, and of course they're having to be brought into what is the next PI. So it's a lot of work to get this going. So I wanted to highlight that as a separate ceremony. It's up to your organization, of course, how many ceremonies that you have, weekly or fortnightly, however many, but yeah, treat them as a different ceremony. And also systems demo. Systems demo, it says every iteration is safe. I have seen them being done every month. And whether or not you bring in everybody in the systems demo or just the POs and stakeholders, that's up to you. But it's usually facilitated by the product manager there. Now, the execution with Kendis, you can see more than just those ceremonies. So, for example, we've got the risks with dependencies. We've got the program and team objectives in Kendis. So we kind of feel like we would have to put in ceremonies around those, because not any of those ceremonies kind of describe where you should really discuss all of these. So we just wanted to add a couple more things. We're obviously just a tool. We use Kendis ourselves. So this is what we do in Kendis, and B, these are the sort of user cases that the tool is going to be built on. So we would like to suggest that there's a release management meeting. So when we're going to release, the people who are involved in that release will be discussing regularly what is actually going to be released. It may be facilitated by an RTE. If you've got a release manager, test manager, something like that, then of course they could also facilitate it. But here we look at the governance, we look at the progress of bug fixing, and of course any blocking issues. Next one we would say is dependency meeting. And it was great that we could see that I think it was about 40% on that poll that actually mentioned dependencies being the most difficult to track. Now, in Kendis, you can actually say who's responsible for dependencies. So why not just bring those people, this is what we do, bring those people who are responsible for the dependencies to have regular meetings. It can be a quick meeting, are we still on track, or are we facing any issues? And I will show you that in a dependency feature in Kendis, where we can have those meetings. And last but not least, the bane of everybody's lives are these risks, because we put all of these risks, we give them a roam, and then they disappear usually on some Excel sheet somewhere. But we encourage you to have meetings about risk management. And it's not just people on the teams and just pushing it back to the teams, it's actually people who can do something about those risks, decision makers, for example. So maybe we should have put stakeholders in here, but we put management instead, people who can actually do something about those risks. The attendees can be the product owners, the scrum masters, whatever sort of level your risks are discussed on. And in these, you will have the status of these risks, if a new one's been identified, because maybe not all of them have been identified in the PI planning, they may have come up later. We've got targeted dates as well in some of the risks, so we can look at, okay, which ones are coming up in the near future, and of course, do we need to escalate any of these risks? So those are the 3 ceremonies that we would suggest that people would have. Certainly this is what we're going to base the Kendis tool on, helping to facilitate these additional meetings, as well as, of course, the ones that we've mentioned before. Okay, so I'm going to go off this and I'll go into the tool itself, into Kendis. So just as most of you would know, who are pros of Kendis, there are 3 places in Kendis that you would get all of this, a lot of information, some general reports. One is on the left-hand side, which is the reports. I will show you more of that in a moment, but you will get like a list view of reports and you can have a comparison view as well. The next one is under more here, and it is analytics as well as smart reports. So those 3 places at the moment are where you can get a lot of the information. We're going to be making it a lot easier for you to know exactly which one to go to get the information you need. But just when we were building it, we kind of just wanted to give all of the information, make it, get it all there, and then we're going to be a bit clever about how we display it. and where we display it. So those 3 places. Now there's 5 things. Let me move this go to into the thing. There's 5 things now that we need to do before we go into tracking whatsoever. One of them is the board state. These are here underneath these settings. So when I first create a Kendis board, this will be in draft, and these will actually say start planning and start tracking. So when you do your PI planning, you click start planning, and then after your PI planning, maybe the day after, so when everybody's kind of left the board, gone home, you put that into the tracking mode. Now you can go back to the planning mode to see at any stage, just click on that to see what it was that you did in your PI planning. So we freeze the board. It's a snapshot of what you did in your previous state. But also, when it moves from planning to tracking, we're able to say that any increase or decrease is a scope change. We're able to sort of monitor all of the events that happen after the planning. So it's very important that you change that board state. So that's the first one. The second one are the mythical birds. I love these mythical birds. No one else understands them. I love them. So Alicanto, Griffin, and Phoenix. It's all like a bird's eye view. That's the idea of it. So those of you that are familiar with Kendis will know that in SAFE, they mainly talk about the Phoenix view. And the Phoenix view is the last time any team is going to be working on a feature. So that's the view here. The Alicanto view is the default view that you are all in when you're using Kendis, because that will allow you to see by team all of the stories that are being worked on in the sprint. And of course, on a high level, we'll see which feature is being worked on in the sprints. So you should know about the mythical birds. And you can change the view to whatever you need it to. So that's the second one. The third one, and people might not know this, but you can start and stop, and I say you should start and stop your sprint or iteration. I'm going to say iteration and sprint, so please know that it's the same thing. I got asked the other day what iteration meant, but please know that it's sprint. That's how I mean it. So you can start and stop your sprints just by clicking on here. Those 3 dots next to the word iteration, those 3 dots here. Now, Jira users, it will automatically be updated through if your webhook works. So it will automatically, when you start and stop sprints in Jira, it will automatically start and stop here in Kendis. Unfortunately, at the moment, Azure DevOps doesn't have that. So you have to do that manually. So for each of these iterations, you'll have to start them and end them. That way, Kendis will know when you ended it, what stories have moved across into the next sprint. So we can keep track of the changes that have been made. So this is also, we can sort of warn you early. So the fourth one is board updates with a webhook. Now, the tool is best used when it's linked with your Jira or Azure DevOps, as you guys would know, because automatically the stories will move around. Statuses will be moved around, will be changed. The teams can just focus on just using their ALM, and it will just appear here in Kendis when you have all of your webhook working. So please do make sure that the webhook is working. If there are any troubles, please contact our support team and we'll try and see if we can figure out how we can help. And last but not least, it sounds really silly, this one, but if you go into settings, you can remove empty cards, because sometimes that will give you false indication. What happens is if a story moves from one sprint to another sprint, we will create another feature card, but the one that is left from will appear blank with no story in there. We do that on purpose. We don't want to remove that card just because some people like to keep track of changes that have been made. We got shouted at when we tried to remove it previously. But we give you an option now to remove empty cards. So if you have those empty shells of features, you can just do that in one bulk move there. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to move on to dependencies. I think, have you got another poll for dependencies, I know?
Yes, I do. Let me put that up.
Hey.
There you go. Yeah, so yeah, just put in when do you discuss your dependencies. Could be other, could be none of the above as well. Those answers are welcome. Thank you all for voting, getting there. About half of you voted. A lot they're saying scrum of scrums. It's looking like the winner. Give it a second more. Anyone else gonna put in a vote? Okay, let me share these results for you. There you go.
Brilliant. So mainly in the scrum of scrums, sometimes program meetings, PO syncs, and other. It'd be interesting to know what the other was as well. It's quite a lot, isn't it? Okay, thank you for that. Can you see my screen still?
Yes.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. So yeah, if you discuss these in your Scrum of Scrums, that's absolutely fine. It's a lot of companies do discuss that in their Scrum of Scrums. With this dependency part here on Kendis, what we encourage is for all the conversations to be had in this one area, so that you'll be able to see that you can edit the comments, have different conversations in here. What we want to do is for you to look in this one area and have the discussions on dependencies separately and treat them as important artifacts that they are. We've got lots of different ways of filtering. You'll note that our dependencies are directional, so we're able to say on this board, for example, it's the creators of dependencies, so the people who are asking, and then the receivers of the dependencies. So if we go then to receiver iterations, we can filter the board that way. And you can see when you got up and coming sprints, if you wanted to, you could get the responsible people, only the responsible people in these meetings to have these discussions about if everything is working, about if there's any issues or anything else. Overdue dates, that's something that we have as well in these dependencies. So you can have a look and you can filter on lots more than I'm showing here. We've also got, you can filter on all of these type of things as well. If you look under more filter, for example, this is color spelt wrong for us European people. You can have a look here and see by color type. If you hover on it, you'll be able to see what the colors actually are as well. So the idea is that you come in here, you have your dependency meetings on here, you have these discussions, you edit them. When it's done, you'll see that is a faint green showing that this dependency is marked done. And also, not forgetting that you can set up your Jira, I believe as your DevOps as well, that automatically when the stories are completed in your ALM tool, automatically it will be shown as done in Kendis. So if you haven't got that set up, please ask, and we will make sure that you've got, we will give you the instructions to do it. It's very simple to do. Okay, so that's the dependency. I also mentioned about release management meetings. Now, this is in the objectives area of Kendis, because you can list whatever you like in this area. You can, of course, list the objectives for the PI and the team objectives. But if you have things like releases, strategic themes, anything else like that that you would like to keep track of, then you can. There will be something separate for releases coming out later on. But just for now, you're able to have these discussions in here. So you can list out, for example, these releases that we would like, and you can link features to these releases. So you're able to track the progress of these. If you don't know how to do it, it's those three dots on the right-hand side here. You open one up, and you bring in all of the features that you would like to represent whatever that release would be. So it could be that you have these discussions in your PO syncs or release management meetings specifically if you have them already. But yes, you can do all of that. Not forgetting that one feature can go into multiple objectives or multiple releases. So you really can keep track of that. And we also mentioned the risk management as well. And this is quite straightforward. So at the moment, of course, these don't get created in your ALM, in your Jira and Azure DevOps. I know that some companies prefer to work that way, and they will later on. But at the moment, these will stay in Kendis. And in your risk management meeting, you can bring, you can prioritize on the risk level. You can prioritize on the target resolution date. You can have the people that are responsible, maybe the people who are attending the meetings, and you can have these discussions. And of course, with like the dependencies, any kind of anything you do on risks or dependencies, you'll get email notifications on. So if you make comments, for example, in your dependencies, let's go back to dependencies. If you make comments in here, it will go back to the reporter. And for those of you that haven't seen it, this has all been updated in the last few months, and we've got a responsible person there. And I should mention as well, while we're talking about dependencies, that there's different types of dependencies. There are dependencies that are between features. So dependencies between features would be example here. So feature 8 needs something from feature 2. So that's dependencies between features. We know some companies, however, will call this scenario a dependency, because it might be that your company will have one feature for one team. So therefore, anything other than that will be a dependency. In Kendis, we don't call them dependencies, but if there is something, you see here that this feature is being worked on in 2 sprints by one team. If there is something that you need from this team before you can start your work on that team, that's fine. Just make sure that you say that there's a dependency on it, and that way you can keep track of it. So that's just a tip there. Okay, let me close this now. I would love to ask if there's any questions, but you can't can't get anyone to speak on this. Hopefully, you're asking questions away on the old questions part of the webinar. Okay, so I'm going to discuss about Scrum and Scrums now. So Scrum and Scrums, for those of you that haven't set it up, I really recommend that you do. Even if you don't have Scrum and Scrums on there, I think this area is really useful for the data that we provide. It's probably the most up-to-date data that we provide. First, for example, this area here, you'll see that there's percentages on all of these. We have this set up that we can see how the teams are progressing in the sprints. So this is how they're progressing in the sprints for this Scrum and Scrums. We have, if I mess around with the sizes. We have, if you open it up for the program, of course you can, the idea is that you send out this a link to the Scrum of Scrums beforehand to your Scrum Masters, and they fill out this information for their teams, send it through, and then of course you can have a quick call on your Scrum of Scrums. So let me show you how it looks in the settings. Like here, for example, this will be the email that's sent out to the Scrum Masters. And you can send it, out before the time that you'd like, attending teams, etc., etc. So they're encouraged to fill out all of their data, their impediments, their action points, whatever it is, all of their data beforehand. Now, some of you, as your DevOps, this will be new to you, this blocked item. This is unfortunately only in Jira at the moment. Blocked item, I believe, is a status in Azure DevOps. We're trying to find a way to provide you with that same information. But for the Jira users, we show the blocked item on the program level. If a team has a story blocked, we'll show you the feature that is related to. So we'll say this feature is blocked. We have the impediments, we have the action points, and of course, if you @ somebody, so you @ Joshua Ladies, I don't know how to pronounce that one, but Joshua will get an email saying that there's either an action point on him or the impediment with his name. So they'll get email notifications on that as well. These updates come automatically. So this progress you'll see is different to this 42% because this is by estimate. You can change that and you can have it by stories. And now you can see that that's 42. So that's where that's coming. These are very quite specific to these sprints. So the open dependencies in the current iteration, the open dependencies in the previous iteration. So we've got also open risks. We've got features that were not completed. We try and give you, it sounds awful, but we try and give you the bad news. So what wasn't done, we try and give you that information. And of course, you can click on these numbers and you can get that information as well. Any of these numbers. So yeah, if you don't have Scrum of Scrums, or if you don't use this for Scrum of Scrums, I really would encourage you to just open, just set it up, just so that you can use some of the data in there. Now I will go to analytics. Why went high pitch then? There we go. Analytics. Now analytics has again recently been done, I think in the last 6 months or something like that was when it first came out. It first got updated, and we're still working on it. We're still building it. As I said, we're making it more smarter with the information that we provide. At the moment, you will have to go to a few places just to find the simple information that you may want. So this will help, of course, in the team progress area. This area, mainly the burn down charts, this is going to be added on. So you'll have lots more lines, okay, what was committed before the PI execution, and what is it now? It will kind of, the line will differ with the amount of new stories, etc., etc. So this is all changing. But if you've got a simple ask, the burn down chart by iteration, you can see all of that. We can give you all of that information. You can also have the burn down based on a car type. Now, this is just in our demo account, these are the car types that we use. You can add your own car type. It can be new functionality, it can be compliance features that you may have, architectural work, I don't know, lots of different examples of car types that you can have. And you can actually have a burn down based on those car types. So a good one for the product management is for new functionality. because we've got all of our boards very busy with lots of things happening, but actually new functionality. Let's just see how much we're delivering. That's always an eye opener. But yeah, that's the main thing on here is really for the car types here. Everything else is just sort of generic type stuff, which is going to be improved on. This area here, the delivery by features, I think is the main area that if you would want that information for every sprint. So on this side, we've got features that are not in any iterations. We call them unplanned because they're not planned for this PI. It may be that they are planned, but for the next PI, we will still call them as unplanned because they're not planned for this PI. You can click on it and you can see the amount of features or stories or story points. So all of this information you can actually click on. Any scope changes that have been made. So this is where, yeah, new stories have been coming in. You can click on them and find out which ones, even the dates that they were changed. Feature variations, feature delivery variations, this is. So we thought the feature, if you remember back to Phoenix mode, was going to be delivered in this iteration. However, it's been bouncing around. And these are the changes. If you want to see by iteration, for example, we've just finished iteration 1, you can do it. Just use that filter. On all of these, you can just have a look at the iteration. Now, plan features, iteration by iteration. You can have a look here. So these are the plan features for iteration 1. If you want to drill down to what team is working on it and also the status of them, then you can do on each feature. It may be, it's a bit hidden, but it may be that you just want to know, first of all, before we get into that, you want to know the progress of the features for the PI. How are we doing on the features? So here we give you a very high level, okay, so you've got 14.29% done at the moment of features. User story completion that's actually quite high, isn't it, for that few features? But yes, you can see the user story completion and you can see the story point completion as well. And that's at the bottom. These donuts are at the bottom. So if you've got lots of features, I think it cuts off at 25 or something and it's paginated, but you might not see that you've got these donuts that can actually help you with what is going to be, how well the features are doing. But you can also see the spillovers, because this is inevitable, isn't it? The spillovers that occurred in the previous sprints. If you change this, you'll get better detail. So if you change it to stories, of course, it's the stories, isn't it, that move into sprints. So you can see the stories that have moved from iteration 1 and then spilled over into the upcoming iterations. So we've got all of that. I'm going to move to progress by teams just because I want to show you this. By teams view, it's not so obvious. People don't know, but you can click and hide things here because it might be too much information for you. There's a few places like that. So if you see graphs like this and you want to hide a few things, you can do that. So in the progress by teams, you've got all of this information. We've got this table which is still being worked on. I'm not going to go into it now, but it's very detailed about when it first came in the PR planning, what it was before you started the sprint, and then what we accomplished after the sprint for each team. So you can really drill down into the information for all of the teams. We've also got, these kind of graphs here, delivery by teams. These are very useful for each of the iterations. At least you can see how well the teams are doing. We try to put them all in one place as best as we possibly can. We know some of you have, 20, 30 teams to kind of scroll through. But all of this information at the moment is in one place because we wanted to have them in the graphs. We will make this easy for you to have a look with all of those teams in one place. So, and just to mention, we've also got stats for all of the teams. Some people still like these views. You can see the percentage of completion. If we had all of the teams here, you will see what their statuses that they're all at, with all of their story points, stories, or features. And the reason I'm going off is because I would like to show you the smart reports. Oops. I will show you in this board here. Not many people know with this smart report, but these dates here you can change. So if you click on the dates, you can change. That was the whole idea about these smart reports. Maybe we should make it a bit more obvious that you can change these date parameters. And then, of course, make sure that you've always got them updated. So you've always got the latest batch there. All of these graphs and information, like everywhere else on our boards, you can click on, you can get the data that you need. But you'll see all of the good news stories. So all of the weekly done user stories, the weekly done features, etc., open user stories, all of those type of information. The part that I find very interesting is things like this, the scope changes. So when new features have come in to the teams, we can see how they're impacted. You can click on all of this and you can get that information. So we had 3 features that came in, and these were the changes that were made. This one I've just deleted and added, so that's why it's that one. Same with story points, etc., etc. We've also got dependencies. These are just analytics really that are based on dependencies. So how many open per team? We've got all of that information anyway in the dependency area. But what I actually find useful is this dependency wheel. So the dependency wheel is we're trying to help you out. We've got the dependency receivers. These people are the one who are, if you think of them as your possible bottlenecks, the ones that need to do the work, and these are the ones that have asked for the dependency. We're now able to say, instead of just giving you lots of red lines and strings and whatever else, we can say how many dependencies people are actually being asked to do. And with this dependency wheel, these are team names. The thicker the line, basically, the more dependencies the teams have on each other. So you see the smaller lines between the two, there will only be 1 or 2 dependencies. The thicker line has 6 dependencies between each other. So if you need to do something about Team Earth and Team Venus, because they've always got dependencies in your PI planning, then at least we give you data to do something about it. So that's the idea of the dependency wheel. So you can actually improve your processes on that as well. And very quickly as well, lastly, we've got inspect and adapt. So inspect and adapt, where am I going? Well, inspect and adapt is, at the moment, we give you the data for your retrospective. For those of you that don't know, inspect and adapt happens at the end of the whole iteration of your PI. And the focus is really on the business value achievement, as well as the program predictability matrix as well. So we will give you that. This comes directly from the objectives. We will also give you a few more information just because we have it in Kendis, so we might as well provide you with that information. You can also have a look at it based on story point status of the stories, however you would like it to look at it. If you want to see all of the scope changes for the PI, all of the dependencies, what happened with all of these dependencies, then we've got that here. And again, we're going to be adding to that. But the part that I wanted to show you was we've got this predictability matrix where you can, of course, these are previous release trains, apologies for the names, but you can have the previous release trains you can see what you did in terms of the business value in the previous ones, and we will show you a prediction of the next one as well. And with that same one way of working in mind, we also have quite a convoluted like features that have been planned in this PI compared to the previous PIs. Features that we actually completed in this PI compared to the last PI. So we've got all of that information as well. I realize I've talked really quick, so I'm going to just open the floor now to for questions. I know. Have we got any questions? I know.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot answered from our support team. So thank you for that. One thing I wanted to say, some people asked for the slides, and I think I can share them through here. If you're okay with that, I just wanted to double check.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no worries at all.
Cool. Then I can actually share them through the webinar. So hopefully everyone is going to upload, and then you can see them and download them through there. Yes.
Any questions for me to answer?
Let's see.
There's probably lots, isn't there? I've been talking for.
Right, I've been asking, but I think we've gotten all of them answered that I know of.
Okay. Well, one thing that I would like to add as well is there's so much of tracking. There really is a lot. One thing that we're offering, especially our enterprise and premium customers, you'll get email at the end, as I may have said, and you'll be asked what topic we can have for our the next, what is it that we're calling it, the clinics? Yeah, the clinics. So what topics can we have for the clinics? So if you have something in mind, if you're really unsure about something, please just list maybe about 3 or 4 topics that you think we can have for our upcoming clinics, and hopefully we'll get around them if there's obviously a consensus amongst a lot of people. The second thing that you'll be asked is, do you want assistance with your tracking? It may be that we kind of have the information that you need, but in different places. So, we'll happily jump on a call with you and talk you through what Kendis does. And also, it allows us to see what you guys have got or what you guys are requesting, and we can adjust our tool accordingly, which is obviously the way that Kendis has been built. For those of you that have been with us for a while, you will have known that. So yeah, please let us know and reply to those emails that you're going to receive, or notifications, however it comes to you afterwards. Sorry, I know I interrupted again.
No worries. Yeah, those 2 questions will be in a survey as this ends. Yeah, so that should be good. Hopefully everyone can access the file I shared. It should be, hopefully there's something called handouts on the side.
I see it, handouts. Yeah.
Okay. So hopefully everyone else can see it. Yeah.
We're good?
I think we are good.
Yeah, okay.
I think so.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for joining. Please keep in contact. We want to know if there's anything else that you guys would like to have webinars or talks about. Please do let us know. But for now, yes, speak to you soon. Thank you very much for joining. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Take care. Bye.